Section 12.6, surface areas and volumes of spheres. So we just have two equations here. One equation is for the surface area of the sphere and one is for the volume. Okay, so we found surface areas of prisms and cylinders. Now we're going to find surface areas of spheres and volume of spheres. Here we go. All of our vocabulary is pretty much the same. We have the radius, we have chord, diameter, tangent. Same thing you guys have done before. Okay, here's our first equation. The surface area of a sphere is 4 pi r squared. So all we're doing is finding the radius, plugging it into the equation. Okay, so let's do one example real quick. Surface area equals 4 pi r squared. I find my radius right there, which is 5. So this will equal 4 pi 5 squared. 5 squared is 25 times 4 pi. That equals 100 times pi, which will equal approximately 314.16 meters squared. Okay, when I come over here, I look at my 7. That's my diameter. So I take 7 over 2, which will equal the radius, which is 3.5. And then I take that 3.5, I plug it in for radius and self. So pretty simple there. Okay, if I do a hemisphere, okay, we know that the surface area is 4 pi r squared. A hemisphere is half. So if I take 1/2 of that, hemisphere surface area is 2 pi r squared. Once again, I take my 3, plug it in for r. Over here, I notice it's a diameter. 9 over 2 is 4.5. That's r. And then I plug that back in. Okay, couple vocab words here. Poles. You guys already know those. It's like North and South Pole. Here we just have, can't really see that, those two there. They're the endpoints of a diameter on a great circle. So the poles could be there, they could be there, they could be there, like North and South Pole. So those are the poles. The great circle is the circle that contains the center of the sphere. So it's this circle right here. So any circle that goes through the center is the great circle. All right. We're going to skip that one. Now we're going to go to volume. Okay. Volume equals 4/3 pi r cubed. And I'm going to solve just this first one. I'm not going to do the second one. The first one, we plug in 8. Okay, how am I going to type this in my calculator? 2 ways. The first way is to do 4 divided by, draw a line here, 4 divided by 3 times pi times 8 times 8 times 8. So if I type all that in my calculator, 4 divided by 3 times pi times 8 times 8 times 8 equals, I get 2144.7. Okay, the other way to type this in my calculator is to do, and I'll draw it up in this little area here, 4 times pi times 8 times 8 times 8, and then divided by 3. And if you do that, you should get the same answer. So that's pretty much all you do, is plug in the radius in and solve. Find the volume of each hemisphere. I'm not going to solve these, but I'll show you how we get our equation. I'm going to take 1/2 of 4/3. And when I take 1/2 of 4/3, it's going to give me 4/6 or 2/3 pi r cubed. Once again, I just take my radius, plug it in, and solve. Okay, here's more examples. If you guys want to pause here and practice these, you can. Just make sure that this diameter becomes 16, 32 divided by 2. And this is a hemisphere, so it's half. Everything is half there. Okay, we're going to end with one more problem. So we have a balloon here. Okay, we're going to find the volume that was added. So what we need to do first is we need to find the volume for 4/3 pi r cubed. Okay, what they're giving us here is the circumference. Circumference equals 2 pi r. So what I'm going to do is, if I plug in 14 for C, I divide both sides by 2 pi, the radius will be 7 over pi. The radius of the 18-inch will be 9 over pi. I just did 18 divided by 2, same thing. Instead of 14, I plugged in 18, and I found that. Okay, what volume of air was added to the balloon? I'm going to subtract 9 over pi minus 2 over pi. So the radius of the volume of air is going to be 2 over pi. Okay, I'm going to erase this stuff here. You can always rewind and look at it. Okay, now I'm going to plug in. So volume equals 4/3 pi times 8 over pi to the 3rd. So what I did there is I just took 2 cubed and pi cubed. Okay, so volume equals 32. This pi will cancel. This will change to a squared. 32 on top, 3 pi squared on the bottom. Type that in your calculator and you'll get the answer. The biggest thing, though, is to get the difference between the two balloons. All right, that's it. Make sure you ask questions if you have them.